where are the best places for families if you're looking to move or live in Southeast Asia. I'm Flynn from Offshore in Asia. We help people move, do business, and invest in Southeast Asia. The definite first place for this one, and that I couldn't say enough good things about for families, is Malaysia. This is definitely our most requested and most suggested place for people looking to move to Southeast Asia with kids. Malaysia's a really nice middle ground. When you compare it to, say, somewhere like the West or Singapore, and then the rest of Southeast Asia, Malaysia's this really nice balance of, it's safe, it's got good healthcare, all these important things that many Western countries have, but it's also affordable. And this is one of the best things about it. It still has that energy and that life of Southeast Asia. So if you want your children to grow up in a place that is different from the West, or even to spend a few years there or whatnot, it has that. It also has lots of international schools as well, particularly in Kuala Lumpur, but some in Penang and Johor Bahru as well. The quality of education is very good there, and a lot of schools teach in the English language, and English is also widely spoken in the country. For that reason, there's plenty of benefits to moving there, and there's even a visa made for families, which is something that doesn't exist in the rest of Southeast Asia. It's called the MM2H visa, or the Malaysia My Second Home visa, or program sometimes. Its main requirements are a bank deposit and proof of monthly income. Once you've got that, generally the next steps come a bit more easy, but you can live in Malaysia more or less indefinitely with your family. You can bring your dependents, that being your kids, your spouse, sometimes even parents, but check that because it depends on certain applications. So if you do want to move out to Southeast Asia and you are interested in Malaysia, this is probably the best option in the majority of cases. The next place is Singapore, and now this isn't for everyone, obviously. It is a very expensive place to live, but with that price comes quality. By so many metrics, it's one of the safest, easiest, and best countries to work in the world. And although it is expensive, granted, you do get quality with that. So if you're in a position where you either can work in Singapore or work from Singapore, or perhaps you're retired and have children, it is another very good option. Again, the visa situation is not quite as easy as other countries in Southeast Asia, naturally. But if you're in a position and have the financial means to move there, it is a very good option. And there's a reason why so many people pay so much money to live there. The next place is Thailand. And the first thing I want to address with this, that have to go through with clients probably on a monthly basis, is no, your 1 week holiday to Phuket or Pattaya or Sukhumvit in Bangkok does not represent the entire country. There are 3 or 4 walking streets that you might walk down in Thailand and think, oh, this isn't a place for children. And you're probably right, it probably isn't. But the vast majority of the country is not that. And the vast majority of it, in fact, you don't really ever see that. And if you're concerned about your children being raised in such an environment, just don't raise them in a walking street or in, maybe 2 or 3 small localities in one town in Thailand. With that said, there are a few great options for families looking to move to Thailand or Southeast Asia as a whole. Firstly, Chiang Mai is very popular with families, particularly Chinese families, but also other people as well, looking to send their kids to international schools. Bangkok, also very popular. There's lots and lots of expats in Bangkok, and they move with their kids. So again, plenty of options there for schooling. And it's a bit more of an efficient city than you might think. If you're living near a train line, it is pretty easy to get around. Traffic isn't great, granted, and pollution isn't great either, but it isn't terrible. So just look into it and see if it is for you or not. And lastly, we have what I mentioned, Phuket, and sometimes Koh Samui in the south. These are also quite popular options if for whatever reason that appeals to you. The last note with Thailand, and this is kind of back to the first point, it's probably not what you think it is. By very many metrics, it's very, very similar to Malaysia in terms of quality of life, healthcare, and all these things. It just doesn't seem it by its national branding almost, or the stereotypes labeled to it. Its healthcare, when factoring in cost in particular, is one of the best in the world. I think it ranks around 15th in by certain metrics. So if that's a concern for you, as it is to many people, understandably, you don't have to be too worried about Thailand. So where wouldn't I recommend? I'd say Laos, Cambodia, the Philippines, Vietnam. The last 2 are a bit more marginal, but nevertheless, these places don't have as much access to things like international schools and whatnot. And the main thing though is the infrastructure is a lot more poor and healthcare isn't as good. If you're a parent, I'm sure good infrastructure and healthcare are some of the most important factors. So if you are set in one of these countries or you need to move there for work, don't let it deter you. But just bear in mind that it might not be as good, or probably won't be as good as what you're used to back home. That's all for the video. Anyone who's moved here with their kids or is looking to, please let me know what you think, or anyone who knows anyone who has. Love to hear your input. And anyone else who's watched the video, just give us your thoughts. We'd really like to know what you think, and we'd like to thank you for watching the video as well.